you, Congressman Stivers.
You have a much better background. I have a window.
No, I just have this little pull up. Yours looks great. I like your green tie.
Thank you. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to you as well. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to have you on.
I'm excited to do it. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So you're having a good St. Patrick's Day?
It's great. It means it's a week for my birthday, so that's even better.
Really? Well, happy early birthday. Is it exactly 1 week from today?
Yeah, the 24th, exactly.
24th. Yep. Okay. All right. That's really cool. So you were just right after St. Patrick's Day.
Exactly.
Now, are you Irish at all? I have to ask.
Oh, I've got a little Irish in me, I'm sure. I'm kind of a Heinz 57. So my mom's family is English and Irish, and my dad's family is Dutch and German. So a little bit of everything.
That's perfect. Well, at least you get to honestly celebrate today. I don't think I have any Irish, so that's exciting. I just get to pretend and wear the green so I don't get pinched.
It's all good. It's great. And you're mostly Italian. You got a lot of Italian in you, right?
I do. I'm about 50% Italian, and then I think we're just kind of like the mutt on the other side, a mix of everything.
Yeah, we're all mutt on both sides, though, is the difference.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I figure we'll get started here in a few minutes, but I just want to let a few other people join. But again, thank you so much. We're so happy to have you on St. Patrick's Day too.
Thank you. And how long do you expect it to go? I do have to go vote around 5 o'clock. Will that be okay?
100%. We'll keep it. What I would like to do is keep it at, typically we aim for 20 minutes, no more than 30 minutes with questions.
Perfect.
So we should be done at a solid, you said you have to vote by 5. So we'll do 20 minminutes and we'll cut it out to make sure that you make it. So we can go ahead.
Well, I can leave here at 5 because the vote closes at 5:05. So you can do 25, somewhere in there.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, then we'll jump into it right now, if that's okay with you.
Works for me.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'll just start. Obviously, hi and welcome everyone to Executives in Tech. We're so excited to have you here today. Executives in Tech is powered by MavenX, your ServiceNow experts. And today we are so very excited and grateful to welcome Honorable Congressman Steve Stivers of the 15th District. He was recently promoted to 2-star shoulder rank. Congressman Stivers is one of the highest ranking National Guard members to simultaneously serve as a member of Congress, having served in the Ohio Army National Guard for 35 years. So Congressman, thank you so much for being on, and thank you so much for your service.
Thank you, Catherine. It's an honor to be on. I'm excited to talk about technology and how amazing technology can help people, and the confluence of public policy and technology that has some really interesting issues around privacy, censorship, and free speech.
Well, wonderful. Well, I'll let you kick it off a little bit. It sounds like you have an idea of where you'd like to take this before I jump into some of the questions. So why don't you start off and tell us a little bit about your interest in this arena and what really brought you to have this interview and talk about tech and censorship here in the government?
Well, thank you. I've got a lot of interest in and around technology. It starts with making sure that the inventors that invent technology can profit from their ideas. One of the only rights that's in the base of the Constitution, not in the Bill of Rights, in fact, the only right that is not in the Bill of Rights, but is in the Constitution, is the right to intellectual property. And so patents are the right that's in the Constitution that's not in the Bill of Rights. And that's something that I've worked on, patent reform. We have not updated our patents system in almost 50 years. It's time to update our intellectual property laws to make sure that, the investors on Main Street can profit from them. What we're starting to see is some of the big tech companies, Google, Apple, Facebook, really take advantage of smaller inventors, because right now, if you're a small inventor and Google or Facebook or Amazon steals your idea and steals your intellectual property, you cannot get injunctive relief to stop them. So if you can't stop them from stealing your property, it'd be like having somebody steal your bicycle. You watch them ride your bicycle, you point it out to the police and the courts, and there's nothing they can do. They say, well, we'll deal with it later. You can sue them and we'll see what happens. That doesn't work. You need to have injunctive relief for the little guys to have any chance, because the deep pockets just wear them out in the court system and bankrupt them before they can get resolution. So injunctive relief is so important. And we need to make sure that the new system we created under the America Invents Act, which we did do just a couple of years ago, is additive and protects people, isn't just an extra step that adds cost. But today, that's all it is. It's just an extra step that delays your ability to seek relief at a courthouse and in the court of law, and just makes the whole system more expensive. It was sold to policymakers like me as something that would be faster, cheaper, and more innovative to allow quicker resolution of patent disputes. But it's resulted in just being one more hurdle that, almost everything ultimately gets sent to the court system anyway, and it doesn't really resolve anything. So we need to have the same set of rules in the additional process, the PTAB process, that you have in the courts. They need to be consistent. Luckily, the patent office actually made that change under the Trump administration, and I'm hopeful that the Biden administration keeps it, but that does not have the full force and effect of law. So the second thing my bill does, besides providing injunctive relief, is making sure that we have a consistent process from the PTAB all the way through the courts. That, that's what people expect. And I think that will help make sure that our intellectual property system is seen as better and stronger, and that those inventors in technology can profit from it, and not just folks in Silicon Valley that already have deep pockets. So that's one of the things I've been involved in deeply in and around technology for a long time. And I'm also very interested and starting to insert myself in this idea of what we do around censorship, what we do around the problems of free speech on a lot of platforms that is being denied to some people. And, these are private companies. They can choose to make decisions on their own users and how they regulate those users. But to the extent that they have near monopolies, they are ultimately impacting the flow of information and free speech. And I think that we do need to take a serious look at that in public policy. And the third piece is the very monopolies that those companies have, and whether there are any antitrust laws that we should take a serious look at. We've seen them squash competition. We saw Amazon stop hosting Parler, for example, and that company had almost $1 billion of market cap and basically disappeared overnight because it went away. There was nobody hosting its site, and its users couldn't get access to it. And the company's kind of back now, but it really is a shadow of its former self, and was essentially destroyed by Amazon taking away the hosting service, which denied competition in the marketplace. And that is a legitimate antitrust question. And the question is, did Amazon conspire with anybody to do that, or was that a private business decision? And that is a decision or an issue that deserves to be looked at.
Absolutely. So what we can expect is not only policy changes, but it looks like even new legislation is right now being considered.
I think that around the censorship and around the antitrust stuff, absolutely. And I think you'll see both Republicans and Democrats looking at the antitrust stuff for different reasons.
Great. And with the antitrust, you mentioned a bill. So right now you have a bill that you're actually.
Well, the bill that I talked about is the patent bill. So
Okay.
that deals with intellectual property. The second issue is around free speech and censorship. The third issue that I don't have a bill on is, and I don't have a bill on the second or third, is around antitrust and what we're going to do with the monopolies and near monopolies of many of these tech companies. And they're really controlling the flow of information in a massive, massive way. And information now is worth more than oil as a commodity. So it is a big part of our economy. It is a very valuable resource. And there's a near monopoly among some of these tech companies that, and I'm not saying we definitely need to break them up, but it's an issue that we need to take a serious look at and have a thoughtful policy discussion around. And I'm willing to have the debates pros and cons of what they do and the value they create, but the problems that potential monopolies create.
Great. Well, this has been obviously a great conversation already. So I did want to jump into some of the questions, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Okay, so just jumping into one of the first questions is, and you touched on this briefly, but we do see that these are private companies. Now, as you mentioned, these private companies seem to be kind of stepping over what we might consider, within their rights and whatnot. But we're looking at Twitter, Facebook, Google, just to name a few. And, clearly they're not the government, which means they are within their rights in deciding to limit discourse on their sites. With this said, or go ahead.
No, go ahead. Keep going.
Okay. So with this said, at what point, or is there a point, do you think the government should intervene? So you again touched on this briefly, but do these companies maybe have too much power? And also, do you think that we need to ensure that there is indeed diversity and inclusion within all these arenas?
Well, that's a great question, Catherine. Thanks for posing it. And, diversity means more than your skin color, your religion. We're talking about diversity of thought, diversity of ideas. That is what really is getting squashed on some of these platforms. And I think that is something that we should take a serious look at. And that one thing that the last administration did that I thought was a positive step forward was doing an executive order, taking a look at Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act of 1996.
Okay.
That section actually shields websites from liability based on their content and what they do with content. And I think that is open for discussion about whether they should have that kind of liability today. The world is very different from 1996. And frankly, I think that is one way to look at it. But I think we need to look at it from the totality of the market power they have. And they have market power on information, as I just said. And I think that's what brings up some antitrust questions that a lot of policymakers have. And of course, the censorship piece around political speech. If a site wants to exclude users, they can certainly exclude users. They're a free market business. But when they have a near monopoly, then you've got some real questions about what that means for the people who have been excluded. So I think there are serious public policy debates and questions. I'm not going to pretend that they're settled law or even settled discussions, but we need to have them, and they belong in the public policy debate. And so I'm excited to start those discussions. And I think I'm anxious to hear from your folks that are on your podcast about their thoughts. In fact, you can certainly engage us. Our office number is 202-225-2015. And please call our office or go to www.stivers.house.gov. And there's a link you can link to on our website that you can send us a message. If there are things you feel strongly about one way or the other, please engage with us. Because as a policymaker, my job is representative, and I can only represent you if I hear from you. So I want to engage with my constituents and broader communities. So please call us or engage us through our website and talk to us about what you think about some of the issues that we've been talking about.
And that's a wonderful opportunity. So again, I'll make sure we get that information to all of our listeners and that they have access to indeed go ahead and have the discussion. But I think that's the biggest point here, is that we need to be having these conversations, right? We
Exactly.
need to be discussing what that looks like and where the action needs to be taken. And you've already laid out, 3 great points that we need to start to really have those discussions so that certain action can happen. When do you think we might see action occurring, though? So, the discussions are happening. When will we see change?
So Congress is in session for 2 years. I don't know on bigger issues like the antitrust issues and breaking up some of the tech companies. I think that's going to be a longer term discussion. I don't think you'll see quick action on that, nor should you see quick action on that. That's a very serious issue when you talk about breaking up a public company. But on the issues of censorship and on the issues of patent protections and patent reforms, I think in this 2-year Congress, you could see legislation on those things. So I would urge you to engage with my office on all of them as soon as folks are ready to talk. I'm ready to listen and talk.
That's wonderful. Well, I know we want to be very respectful of your time because you need to go vote. So, just with one further question is where
Sure.
do you see, what are your goals for this year? Where are you looking to really start to invest your time and your energies for 2021 and into 2022?
Well, Catherine, as you know, we've all been locked down and we're doing this on a Zoom call because of the pandemic. And we've all seen, I've got an 11-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. We've all been trying to work from home, telework. We've been trying to have our kids on Zoom calls and doing things for schoolwork. We've been doing telemedicine. So one of the things that the pandemic has really opened our eyes for is the digital divide and how it impacts our communities. The internet's not just a lifestyle convenience anymore. It is a jobs issue with, we need electronic data interchange for to make sure companies will be willing to be cited in any particular community. It is an education issue with all this open source educational material that's available on the internet. It's a health issue with telemedicine. So one of my priorities for this year is when we do an infrastructure bill, and I fully expect us to do one soon, I want to make sure that rural broadband is included so that we can, fund that last mile that's more expensive in rural areas, but also helping with urban affordability for poorer families, because it really is an important tool and it's an important infrastructure. We're in the information age. If you don't have that access to information, you're falling behind. And I don't want to see that happen to poorer urban families, and I don't want to see it happen to rural communities as a whole. So that's one of the things I'm going to be fighting for is infrastructure, including rural broadband and broadband affordability programs in the urban areas. And I think if we do those things, it can really help even the divide. Sadly, the digital divide has impacted socioeconomically disadvantaged people, people of color, rural communities. And, while I'm lucky enough, and you're lucky enough, Catherine, to live in the suburbs where we have great broadband connections and we can afford to pay for it, not everybody lives where they can get it at any price. And some people live where they just can't afford it. And so we've got to figure out how to bring the advantage of the information age to every American. And that's why it's important that we look at it in an infrastructure bill. So that's something that I think helps everybody in technology, because if you can't access technology, you can't benefit from it. And technology can be a great equalizer of many things, including the wealth gap, including the education gap. But we have to bring access and affordability to everybody. And that's something I'm going to continue to fight for.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Congressman Stivers. I think you hit the nail on the head right there, right? We need to make sure that we're utilizing technology to the benefit of all of humanity. Well said. Again, thank you so much for being with us today. We were so excited to have you on. Again, thank you for answering our questions. To our listeners, I'll be sure that we get that information out to everyone with the number name to contact Steve Stivers' office. And again, thank you for joining Executives in Tech, and Congressman Stivers, thank you for being on today.
Catherine, thank you. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. And it was really fun to chat about this. And I look forward to additional chats on this with any of your listeners that want to engage, because that's where I learn more. I don't claim to know nearly as much about technology as you and your listeners, but I look forward to learning from you.
Thank you, Stivers. We appreciate all your time today. Have a great St. Patrick's Day, everyone. Take care.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.